Welcome back to the channel, guys. Here we go again. It's Sunday. Hope you enjoyed yesterday's upload. Managed to do absolutely loads. For those that didn't watch the video, I've got the rear beam pretty much together. The front subframe, but on the front subframe, I think these bolts are put in here. I've been looking at photos, are incorrect, so I'll need to check those shortly. And I'm also, what else am I going to do? Start to strip the head. I've been doing some research online this morning about porting a head. It does look like it's a lot of work, like 40 hours potentially for a head this size for the amount of what levels I'd want to go to. But for the amount of man hours, the torque and power gains are really worth doing, and it's something I've spoken to a friend about. He says it's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth doing if you've got the time. So I'm thinking, now that I've got the Dremel and I've followed some YouTube videos, I'm going to give it a go. And if I damage the head, these heads are still freely available and they're not very expensive. But I thought if I'm going to the levels that I am doing with this build, I may as well do that, because it's a really easy, quick power gain and basically relatively free, other than a few bits of sandpaper and whatnot. So yeah, I need to go to a mate's house shortly to go and get some of the tools to strip the head. But other than that, yeah, good to go again. Let's try and find these bolts and make sure these are correct. Try and get the hubs positioned on as well. Try and build these up as much as possible. The drop links as well, which are in here somewhere. I'll have a look for them in a sec. But yeah, let's just get cracked on. Let's put you on time lapse to see what we can achieve. There we go. There's some really good work there, really happy with it. I've put the knuckles on, the adjuster for the coilovers. I found, I think, all the relative bolts. All these ones are in. These are all correct, 10.9 grade in the end, so they were correct. The drop links are on. That's all tightened up. I'll need to check these. In fact, I need to put a bolt on that. I'll do that in a second. Giving it a little clean over. The bolt that goes into there was actually holding up the engine and the engine crank stand. That other one goes in here, so at the minute that's not attached. And also it does appear that that line is not, the hole in there is not lining up very well, so I think this must have got slightly kinked. So we'll have to straighten that out so it'll fit in there. The other bolts are missing, and I can't seem to find the ones that go through here, and they hold the back of the lower arms onto the subframe. and it's the same for this one, so I'll have a look online and I can find it. I think I saw some on eBay. I was tempted to put the Alcon calipers on the disc, but obviously when it comes to mounting it, we'll make it really heavy for a start, but also when it comes to putting this on the car, I'll have to put the drive chassis into where all the gearbox goes and that, so it wouldn't seem very sensible idea to do that. But again, really happy with the outcome. Things to resolve still. I need a helicoil in here. I've got some helicoils but not up to that size, so I need to order one for specifically that size. I think the threads past the first section are okay in there, but I'll just drill it out and helicoil it, and hopefully that will create a seal. So if it doesn't, obviously I'll have to change the whole rack, which I don't want to be doing. So I would have liked to have got these powder coated. They're just hammerite painted, and the reason for that is I didn't want to buy new front wheel bearings for these, which is why I didn't get them powder coated. In the long run, if I fancied it, I could get them powder coated, but I am also aware of the fact when I use the car, things are going to get chipped and marked, but it's good to, you know, do this because I enjoy doing it anyway. So that's about it for that. I need to rebuild the wiper motor while we're there. Unfortunately, I'm missing one of these little springs. I need 3 in total, and I've only got 2, so I can't put that back together yet, which is frustrating, but I'll sort that out. I'll need to mount this and put it onto the floor. I also put another coat of paint on this beam that goes across the front between the headlamps on the car. The rear beam's looking great. So yeah, as I was saying, I'm going to go see Paul in a second to get some tools that I need to continue to strip this down. So what I'm going to do now is, I'll put you on time lapse again, I'm going to tidy up the garage, get this onto the floor, either on the floor or on here, probably on the floor because of the weight of it, and move this into position, give myself a bit of working space and tidy up a bit. Then what I'm going to do is, as I strip the engine down, I'll be very careful and use this worktop to organise all the bolts, because I've never done anything like this before, stripping the engine down. And as I said earlier, I want to fully get the head off, and the reason for that is I'm going to have a little go at porting. Now, the one advantage of a 1.7 engine is that the ports are already quite a bit smaller than on a larger engine, so it means the porting is not going to take as long. I'll go through that. So obviously the exhaust will need porting, the inlets will need porting, and the combustion bit at the top here, which I'll talk through later. But I mean, it's not actually too bad, but if I take some of the edges off them, it's going to be much better. So yeah, let's get on timer. I've got to somehow figure out how to lift this off here without just breaking my back. Tidy up the floor, put it all away, and then let's move on to the next stage, which is the engine, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, I hope you're enjoying the content. So, as I said, sorry it's been so long that I haven't done any, but it's great to be doing it again and learning new stuff along the way, and feels like we're getting closer and closer to the car being ready. Unfortunately, as those that have watched the channel quite a lot know, that the shell needs a hell of a lot of work, and that'll be a lot of repetitive stuff and not really giving you much content. But for now, I'm going to get everything else ready, so that then it's just so we can get the engine and gearbox. The gearbox is down there, as I've said many times about cleaning that up and getting that painted. I need to do that, but if I can get the engine and gearbox built up and all the other bits, then it's just a case of getting the body work done and slowly adding it back to the car. That's going to be great. So yeah, for now, let's have a little tidy up in here. So back from a lovely Sunday roast, and I really want to get this head off. So just this camera a second. As I said, I've never done this before, stripped an engine down to this level, but I've watched a lot of videos in the past. So I just realised that you take stuff out, organise it, as you've probably seen in the time lapse, exactly as it comes off. So there's no doubt in with the position that it goes in. I did have a little bit of an issue getting this one off, and I spoke to a friend of mine and said that you needed to use the spanner on here to hold it tight whilst you undo the nut, which was extremely tight on that. So I managed to get that off. I'm taping out the stud bolts. This engine's never ran since being put together with these bolts, so realistically I think you should change these because they do stretch. But I have been told that a lot of people, and these reinforced ARP bolts, they've used them again with no problems at all. So considering the engine hasn't run and has not been under put too much pressure, I'm going to be reusing them again. So yeah, something I've wanted to do. I've just given it a gentle tap with the mallet, and as you can see, it's coming off already. So what I've been told to do is make sure that you keep track of the can't think what the word is. Anyway, when you lift this off, is make sure you put it on a soft surface, because you don't want to damage the underside of the cylinder head at all. So the gaskets, that's the word I was looking for. You need to make sure that they come off and go back on in the order that they went in. So as you can see there, it looks like there's a gasket and the expansion plate, and that expansion plate is to allow it to be boosted. So yeah, let's get this shifted off and moved onto the side. There we go. There's a little bolt I've missed on the side here, just a 10mm, which is holding it on, so I'll just quickly screw that and put that to one side for the minute. It should be free now. It is. So one of the reasons why I wanted to take this off was to make sure nothing had fallen down into the cylinder. Now already, straight away, look at that. That is a bit of metal. That would have, I'm guessing, completely destroyed these straight away. So I'm really glad I did that. Looking in here, there's a load of crap in there, and that's obviously where the spark plug wasn't. So I'm really glad that I've taken the head off, and to be honest, it wasn't that much work at all, really. That's the gasket, so let's take that off and make sure we put it the way it came off. So if I put that like that, I'll know it's the same as the block side. Let's have a look. I know from watching a lot of videos, again, no expertise on this, is to make sure there's no scoring on the inside of the cylinder walls, because you'll get oil blow by and the efficiency of the engine will be down and the compression will be down. But looking at those, they look pretty good. What I'll do shortly is I'll hoover this out and give it all wiped down and see where we are. But yeah, that looks pretty good. No major issues. The top of the pistons look great. Now I found some pictures online which I'll add in now, and there was some photo evidence of the person who had it previously putting the forged rods in. I'm not sure if they're actually uprated pistons, but the rods themselves are forged ones, and I'm not sure if the rods at the bottom have been upgraded, but yeah, it's good to get that off. I want to take this off now, give that a clean up, maybe a touch of paint, probably not actually because it's quite clean. Take that off, and I also want to take this big pulley off at the end, the main pulley, because it'll make life a bit easier painting, and also want to probably get a new one of them just because it looks crap. But yeah, I'll put you back on time lapse while I give this a wipe down and a clean. But finally, feels like I managed to get somewhere with it. Right, it's all going pretty well so far. You can see in there the upgraded forged pistons. Not pistons, sorry, the rods. I've taken off these two items. I'm not entirely sure the name. I think that's the oil. That's called the oil pickup, and I don't know, oil guard perhaps along those lines. I'm sure I'd recognise the name if somebody told me what it was. So I've moved all that off the bottom. So obviously when I paint it, I'll mask off the bottom here, but I'll need to use a blade to remove all of this because it'll have to be resealed for when the oil pan goes back on there. But yeah, stripping down's going really well. Now I really want to remove this, as I mentioned. However, obviously when I turn that, the pistons are going to go up and down in the cylinder, so I need to make sure they're clean before, so I don't scratch it. And also I need to figure out, perhaps there's a way of locking this from spinning, and then I'll be able to undo that bolt and remove that pulley, and then I can take that plastic thing off, clean it up, and also pretty much be ready for paint. I've got a lot more cleaning down to do. As you can see where I've cleaned here, it's black there, so I need to give that a good clean, get the cam belt off and get that off, take that plastic cover off, clean that up. Yeah, and then we're getting close to paint, so yeah, really happy with that. The other thing I didn't mention before is I left these washers and the bolts on there, so I used the magnet to get out, so you saw me doing them. A little bit more information now on the porting. From what I understand, is there's three main areas of porting from the research I've done so far. There's the exhaust side, which is this side, which is the dirty side, and the idea is to get rid of it as smooth as possible in there. It's not too bad, but you can try and match it with the inlets that goes on there, or the exhaust manifold, to make it smooth as possible. So I'll do a little bit in there. As I said, with it being a 1.7, they're quite small, so not too bad, so that'll need to be done. If I flip it on its back quickly, this side, this is the other section that needs work. What you do is you make this area in here as smooth as possible in the little combustion chambers, and that creates a maximum amount of efficiency and therefore more torque, more brake horsepower. So again, it's a cheap, well, that's the, as you can see there, that's the other gasket, so we need to take that off. Do that now. So that gasket goes on top, and it's important that I put the other gasket underneath it so I know exactly which way it came off. So it goes like that. So there's three gaskets. There's a gasket, then the spacer plate, and then another gasket. So again, clean all of these up. You've got to be careful not to damage these. So, and the final third place where you port, as I said, is the exhaust side, and that's this side. As you can see, it's a little bit of rust, cast marks in there, so we can smoothen these out, and not too bad. I got to be honest, they're quite smooth, but anything I do there will be improved. Now, it looked like something like this could take up to 40 hours or even longer, but I'm going to do a lot more research into it and make sure that I'm doing it correctly. Somebody did say if you get a spare set of these, take them out and put them in, so when you're working on this, if you damage them, you don't damage the ones that you're going to eventually use. So I'll figure out how to push these out. I've not done them before. I have seen in videos I've watched where somebody used a tool, and I'm guessing it's the tool where you pull it towards you, it pinches it, and I think you can move a little circlip on these and it allows that to come out. So that's something to look into, which I'll do some more research this week before I get into it. But yeah, I'm so happy with what I managed to achieve this weekend. Hopefully it's been giving you a bit more content, a bit more enjoyable than just watching me drive up and down the motorway. The rear beam's looking great. The front subframe, done a really good job on that as well. Need to get a few bolts. But yeah, seem to have achieved a lot this weekend, which is great. I've even organised some of the bolts slightly. I'm not sure what else is to mention really. I'll put you on a last little time lapse, but if I could ask you guys to like, if you haven't already, the liking the video goes a long way to getting it shown to other people to see it. And if you put comments on as well, I'll reply to it, because that's quite good to getting a lot more attention. And also advise any other people that you think might enjoy it to subscribe to the channel as well. I just thought one of the things I haven't mentioned as yet is, for those of you who watched the last video of the Transporter, I'll do a little time lapse now before you see it, but you'll see that I finally got a reg plate for the Transporter. I say finally, we've only had it a week and I bought it straight away. DTTV S, no, DTTVs in a way. I have a little YouTube thing written there. I was going to put a black screw thing there to make it look better, But I think once I get the DT TV in the back panel window, it'll make more sense. But again, most people think you're a dickhead having a private plate, I must admit. Many of my mates do, but hey, it's something I always wanted to do. And you'll also notice that D7 is D7 FRP on my other one for DT, and obviously DT TV. There you go. But for now, really happy with what I managed to achieve this weekend. Very wholesome weekend for a change, stuck in the garage. But yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. I'll get this up tonight on a Sunday night, so you're in for a treat. You've managed to see 2 channels. But yeah, I'll leave you for now, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you again later in the week. Cheers for now.